Okay, for our last video on this topic, we're going to look at some perimeter of composite shapes, and these ones involve us calculating either semicircles or the quarter of a circle, and then once we know that, we can just use the perimeter of a rectangle or other familiar shape to solve. So let's look at our first one, A. Now we can see that it's made up by a semicircle, and it's made up by a rectangle. But remember, for the perimeter, we're only going to count the areas in green. We're not going to count these dotted lines here. We're only going to count the areas on the outside which are green. So again, these lines here means that these things are equal. So this is 3 meters as well, and that this is 6 meters up top. So we already know that just the outside rectangular segment plus the diameter of the radius of the circle is going to be just equal to 9 plus 9, and that's 18. So the only thing we have to determine is what this arc is equal to. So we're going to consider this 3 meters as the radius to determine that. So our arc is going to be equal to because it's a quarter, 1 over 4 multiplied by 2 times pi times our radius in this case, which is 3. Okay, so we put that into our calculator. And we get 9.4247, but to 2 decimal places it's just going to be 9.42. Alright, now that we've determined that, we can now add everything up. So our perimeter is going to be equal to, well, we have 6 here and 3 here, so 9, plus 6 here and 3 here, which is also 9, plus our 9.42, which is our arc just here. So the total perimeter here is going to be 27.42 meters. And if we look at B, it's the same idea, but instead of a quarter circle, it's a half circle or a semicircle. So first, fill in the information we don't have. So this is 7, which means that this is also 7 kilometers. And this is 6, which means our diameter here is 6. So our arc is going to be equal to 1 over 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by 6. So the arc length here is the same as the previous one, so it's going to be 9.42. But in this case, it's kilometers, and now we just have to add up our perimeter. So in this case, we have our perimeter is going to be equal to our 2 groups of 7, which is 14, plus our 6, and then our arc length is going to be 9.42. Alright. So our perimeter is equal to, well, these are 20 plus 9.42, which is equal to 29.42. And that is in kilometers. Alright, here's 2 for you guys to practice, so just give the video a pause, give them a go, and then I'll solve them. Okay, let's get started. So for our first one here, we have some numbers up the top. Now this is obviously meant to be 4 centimeters here and 4 centimeters here, and then we have 6 centimeters in the middle. So with that in mind, for C, what we have is essentially two semicircles, or two quarter circles, sorry, with the same radius. Now, if we have 2/4 of a circle, we essentially have half of a circle, right? So we have half of a circle's arc, and then we add on our 2 bits of radius, which will essentially be equal to the diameter. So when determining this entire, both of these arcs, instead of doing them separately, we can do them as one thing. So our arc will be equal to 1/2 multiplied by our pi multiplied by our diameter, which in this case is 8. Okay, the end result is 12.566 or 12.57. Okay, so that is our arc length on both sides, okay? If we add them both together, it would just be the curved part, it wouldn't be the radius. So now to determine the total perimeter, we have 1 unit of radius, which is 4, plus this length here of 6, and then we have the same on the other side, 4 plus 6. So they're both going to be equal to 10, so our perimeter is going to be equal to 10 plus 10 plus 12.57, and that just equals 32.57 centimeters. Now if we look at D, it's basically 3/4 of a circle, and then it has these 2 equal length sides here. So all we need to do is determine 3/4 of a circle using the fact that this point from the outside to the center is the radius, which is also 5, and then we can solve. Again, we just need the fraction of the circle. So our arc will be equal to 3/4, 3/4, times pi times 2 times 5, and that means that our arc will be equal to 23.56. Now, if you're wondering that this up the top might be in the wrong order, multiplication, the order doesn't actually matter. So 2 times pi times 5 is the same as pi times 2 times 5. Alright, so now that we have that, our perimeter is just going to be equal to this number here, and then our 2 groups of 5. So it's 23.56 plus 10, which is just equal to 33.56, and that is in millimeters. Alright, that's it for this video. Hopefully it's helpful, and I will see you in the next one.